My name is Britton Langdon. I am the Chief Strategy Officer here at Snaptrude. We are a collaborative cloud-based design solution focused primarily on conceptual design today. So what does that mean? We like to think of ourselves as the fastest tool to do iterative design for those early stage concepts that architects come up with today. One of the big, great, stories we like to tell is that you can do those concept designs and then take them to Revit without losing fidelity or having to redraw. So that's myself and us as a company to start out. I'm going to turn it over to our product marketer, Archit, who will introduce himself and launch into things. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Britton. Hey, everyone. My name is Archit. I'll be your host today. I'm super excited to be doing this. And let's kick it off. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go from an empty site to concept design for a new project in under 60 minutes. And let's start with the project brief. So what we want to do is design a STEM building within an existing high school campus in Miami with a total built-up area of approximately 45,000 square feet. And I'll jump right into the site context. This is the existing campus, and it basically has a bunch of old buildings, renovated buildings, buildings ready to be demolished, which is right here in the central section where our site is. Yeah, you'll see a better view here. So what we're going to do is import the existing structure, the rest of the university campus from a Revit model into Snaptrude, and then we're going to kick off concept design on Snaptrude, okay? And throughout this process, please feel free to ask any questions if you have any doubts. And yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, let me just jump in there, Archit. Please ask questions in the chat. If you have any, we'll try and answer them asynchronously there, or maybe towards the end, we'll have some time to answer them via Archit or myself.
Awesome. Yeah, so here it is. Here's the entire campus on Revit. And you're able to see that it's a blockish model. It's not super detailed, but it has some basic Revit families. And now we're going to go ahead and open the Snaptrude manager, which allows us to import this to Snaptrude. I'm going to quickly import it to my workspace for now, but I'll be moving it into a different team. This is going to open up the Snaptrude window, which is on my browser. Just going to ask if I'm going to confirm all the levels. That looks good. And yeah, here it is. 174 all objects have been imported. Click on done here. So yeah, this is the Revit imported model. You can see that all objects are as they should be on Snaptrude, and these are editable. So if I were to say change the thickness of this wall, once I take it back to Revit, that gets updated as well, right? Oops, sorry about that. Yeah. All right. So like I showed you, here's our site in the middle. And what I'll do is select all of this, make it a group, and then go to the first level. And just gonna take this site and place it somewhere close to our origin. Okay. And now let me go back. Oh. I created a team for the webinar today. So let me just import this model here and open it up. Awesome. Yeah. So now let's take a look at the requirements for this project, right? Where are we going to start? We know that it's a school building, yes, but this is what we have, right? This is this is the program brief for the project, and this is basically how we start our projects in real life as well, right? When we create these area programs to understand client requirements, but at times we struggle to blend this functional data into forms, right? So now let me show you one of Snaptrude's amazing features. It allows you to import your program briefs, such as this one, uh, as 3D spaces into Snaptrude, right? So firstly, what I'm going to do is quickly select the draw tool, and I'm going to trace over this site. And I'm going to label this as our site. Yeah. And then I'm going to click on import. This is where I can upload that spreadsheet. Quickly going to browse for it. There it is. And I'm going to import it. Now, just so that we can see it clearly, I'm going to hide the Revit model here. Yeah. So here you go. All that data from the spreadsheet has been converted into 3D spaces. Now, if I go to any one of them, you'll see that this is a general science lab. This one is a physics lab, and so on, right? So this provides a great base for us to start blocking and stacking on the site using these 3D spaces.
So, Archie, one of the questions I have is on the, and I kind of want to highlight this for the people watching. On the spaces, you kind of talk a little about this being BIM based. How does that affect, or how do the labels affect that sort of going forward here?
Yeah. So when you label a space on Snaptrude, like you saw what I did with the site, right? It actually assigns relative properties to that space. So what I mean is, let me just draw a bunch of spaces here. And think of these as sort of rooms or enclosures. And when I label something, right, when I label it as, say, a living room, excuse me. Yeah, nothing really happens. But if I label something as, let's say, a balcony, so it actually changes to take the shape of a balcony. And later on, when we're converting these objects to BIM, and that's a super cool automation as well, it actually understands which space needs what kind of walls, what kind of materials even. So I've created some more here, and these ones are fun. The swimming pool, you got a deck, and you can even like relabel it to something like a plaza. And it has these automated sort of materials and textures and heights assigned to it.
Awesome. And one of the questions I always get asked at this point is, are these customizable? And no, not yet, but that is something we're planning on.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Keep going.
Quickly get rid of these. Yeah, so now just going to go back to the brief here, and you can see that it's been divided into mainly 3 floors. And we're going to start off with the first floor. And let me select all of these spaces that we need here. So we got the general science, physics, fabrication, multipurpose, and pantry, right? I'm going to head over to plan. And yeah, so we got 2 general science, 2 physics, fabrication, multipurpose, and pantry. Yeah, so these ones here belong to the first floor. Get these over here. And now we can start blocking and stacking on the site. So here's an idea I had about how we can go about this. If you observe that So the site is basically, let me just change the units quickly. Yeah, and you can change units anytime, by the way. Whenever you're working in a project, even at the later stage, anytime you feel like you can change the units, the tolerances, and things like that. Yeah, so I've changed it to feet and inches right now. And you can see that the site is about a little more than 90 feet wide. So I thought it'd be cool to actually divide this into 3 bays of 30 feet each. And the where we can start is actually we'll take the largest space, the multi-purpose room, and I'm going to place it to the south here. Yeah, I'll change this to, sorry, the length to 60 feet. We need the area to be around 2460, right? So let's just push this in a bit till we get there. You can see the area getting updated live as I'm sort of moving this around. And yeah, that should do. So I'm gonna put this here. And now I'm gonna take these two large general science labs. Maybe I can start with one. I'm gonna place it on the southwest corner here. Let me switch this to 6. We got 4 feet. And now the area we need for the general science lab is about 1320. So I'm gonna just quickly, yeah, something like that. And instead of, yeah, okay, fine. I'll just take this guy here, place it. And now I'm gonna take our physics labs. I'm gonna do similar thing with them here, where I can, oh, 30 feet. And what is the area again? 660. Okay. So this actually needs to go inside. Yeah, something like that. And I can just hit C on my keyboard and copy this here. And get rid of this one. And for the fabrication lab, it's the same area as the general science lab. So I'm just gonna take reference of that. And I'm gonna edit the dimensions like so. What I'll do actually is let the larger spaces be on the edges. And I'm gonna bring physics labs here into the middle. And the whole idea that I'm trying to follow here is that we can have our classrooms or like the main study areas, the well-defined study areas on across the edges. And along the middle, we can have a flexible space that actually caters to both of these, formal studying areas. And this goes well with, keeping our spaces flexible, keeping the entire layout flexible. With the pantry as well, I can just sort of try to keep the same grid that we're trying to follow. And
You notice, actually, I was at a conference last week in Chicago, and flex spaces were huge. They were talking about how they're renovating a lot of commercial office spaces across the United States into a variety of different types of typologies. And the biggest challenge was none of those buildings were designed to be flexible in the first place. So they're looking at everything they do going forward with how do we repurpose this space, at least, with the best effort they can. How do we repurpose this or design the place where it could be repurposed later? And so I think this flex space here is one of that one of those efforts is what we're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. And in this specific context, you can picture it. You can say if there's a physics lab here and you have some flex space over here in the middle, and you just sort of fold out all the walls or you open up the space to the outside, you can actually have exhibitions and emporiums that extend outside into the central area. And this can be followed for all the spaces all at once or separately. So it gives us a lot of opportunity for different uses of the same space. We just add this flexible space in the middle here. I'm just going to label it that for now. I'm going to add some color to it. Awesome. So we have our all the spaces from the program requirement ready. We have a nice flex space here in the middle. Now what I want to do is fill up this space in the middle. And I'm going to add, this can be where our support services are. And that includes the washrooms, the vertical circulation. We'll get into the details later. Right now, I'm just doing an overall study. And I'm just going to give a color to this as well. Probably a different one. Yeah. We'll go back to 3D. And yeah, there you go. First story is done. Site seems to be a little. Yeah. So I'm going to repeat this process for the second and the third stories. For the second one, we have science lab. We have 4 classrooms, which I can start with, I think. So firstly, what I'll do is I'll select the spaces that need to go on the first floor. 4 classrooms, 2 labs, biology, collaboration. And I'm going to click M to move, and I'm just going to move them vertically and align them to the top of this floor here. So now they're on the the second story. I'm just going to hide this. I can take these guys back and start placing them on top of our ground floor, right? So for the classrooms, it's a 660 square feet area again, which is the same as these spaces below the physics lab. So what I'm going to do is just take that same layout, same size, and I can copy them individually, or I can just click on one, hit C to copy, go here, and where it says copies, I can just click here and say 3 copies, please. Yeah, so there we have our classrooms. And now over here, we have 2 large workshop spaces, which is the Earth Science Lab. So again, quickly gonna paste this over the workshop below, over the lab below, sorry. And then we have these bio labs as well. I think we need 1 biolab here. Yeah, 1 biolab needs to go on top. So I'm gonna put
One
of these.
nice thing, I'm gonna jump in, Archie. One nice thing you didn't show there, but kind of happened automatically, was that biolab shape, because it's a clone of the other biolab, automatically changed when you changed it. So a nice, easy feature to keep them aligned. You can make them unique if you want, but if you don't want to, you need to keep them the same shape. It does it automatically, which is nice.
Yes, exactly. So if you wanted to make it unique, you could do that from here, or you can just edit them any way that you want, and it'll do that to all of the similarly named and spaces with same areas. I think I already made it unique by mistake, but you can see that in the classrooms over here, right? When I go to the push-pull tool and I try to edit, all of them get updated live. And one more thing here, which I want to talk about, are the areas in Snaptrude. So I click on the area chart over here. There's actually a bunch of area charts, which you can see. For now, I'm going to go to by room, since we are dealing with different kinds of spaces here. And you'll be able to see a breakdown of the different spaces in your project. if you click on a floor or a story, you'll be able to see which spaces contribute how much area to that space, to that story. And if you click on any one of them, it'll actually select that one. So you can pinpoint exactly which uh, spaces you're selecting. Selects the classroom here. Yeah. And these areas get updated live as you design. So if I were to say, again, take my push-pull tool and increase the classrooms to something like this, it automatically updates the area in real time, right? So you don't have to worry about all those calculations going back to the spreadsheets again and again. You can just focus on your blocking and stacking or what you're doing within the model, and all the areas keep getting updated simultaneously. So I'm gonna now take this biolab here and one 602. I think the area which we needed was around 15331. If I align it to this edge, it should work out. Okay, I think that'll do. And I can have the collaboration space in the corner here. I don't want it to extend out so much since this is going to be a cantilever space. Maybe I can reduce the size a bit. So it says 820 square feet. Just going to bring this down. Something like that. And yeah, I think this is the only one left, faculty office, which is again 660 square feet. So we can place it on top of the classroom here. Yeah, there you go. These are the Revit roofs showing up. I'm just going to hide these. Yeah. And very quickly go and do the same thing for the third floor. Take all of these and the ones that are copies. So we can see that we have 4 classrooms which are on the third floor as well. And we also have this biolab and the faculty office and the multi-purpose space, which we've already, the collaboration space, which we've already put in here. So I can just copy those up. The new spaces that we need are these 2 chemistry labs. So I'm just going to take these 2, move them up to story 3. And once again, just hide these real quick. Get this in the model. And quickly push pull this. So those spaces which we needed to copy from the second story, 4 classrooms, one faculty office, the biolab, and the collaboration space. So now I'm going to just hit Control plus up, Control or Command plus up on my keyboard, and it'll create those copies, as well as update the area charts. I'm going to do this again with the support services and the flexible spaces here. I'm going to add them, excuse me, I'm going to add them to both the stories on top, Control up and Control up. Yeah. So I can get rid of these. And that's our basic massing model. And we can see that we are still pretty much within the target FAR. So we're good to go for the BIM stage. Yeah. If you want to have a closer look at the areas, I'm just going to cycle through all the different area charts available to you. So this one is by story. So it shows all the spaces which are on each story and how much area they occupy. This one shows you spaces by color. So all those colors which we actually imported from our spreadsheet over here. So each space had a different color to it, right? So it shows spaces according to that color. And then finally, this one shows the FAR. And I think we're barely meeting it. So it's a good sign. Now let me show you a really cool thing. So what I can do here is what Britton was asking about these spaces being BIM, having BIM properties. What I wanted to talk about was the automate function in Snaptrude over here. So you see, as soon as I click this, it opens up this sidebar and it allows me to choose properties for these spaces. What do I want the walls to be? What should the slabs be? And what it does is when I select these properties and I hit create building, it'll convert this space into this uh, room with walls and slabs and floors. So I'm just going to hide this wall so you can see what's inside. Yeah, there you go.
And
And
a couple of things. First of all, the person in the chat asked about exterior, what does it know what type of walls? This is what I was referring to. In our create building functionality, you can choose the type of wall, and it's actually the wall family that you can import from Revit. So if you're using Revit and you have these wall families already built, you can choose the ones you want for exterior or interior, and then you can modify them. And I'm sure Archit will show that to you in a minute, but you can modify them on a wall by wall or, sort of select all like type functionality. But yeah, Archit, when you say BIM, can you talk a little bit more about what you mean by that?
sure, yeah. So yeah, so like I said, when you think of spaces, right? Snaptrude works with these things, what we call as spaces, and they're basically massing blocks. But what it does at the BIM stage is that it converts them into these enclosures or rooms with walls, slabs, and floors, which you can take directly to Revit, right? And this is because this is where the label integration also becomes important. Because say if I were to have like a balcony over here, and if I were to select this and then go to automate and do create building, this would actually behave differently than a biolab, for example. It would create this balcony with parapet walls and a slab on top. So yeah, this is where labeling the spaces becomes important. And also, yes, so each one of these is a BIM object with parametric properties. What I mean by parametric properties is that you can adjust these properties over here. And you can also change the wall type completely, just how you would change Revit wall families. Could go for even a glass railing, for example, and update this really quickly. And you can also, by the way, when you take this to Revit, you can also edit these families as your Revit families. So once you're inside Revit, you'll see this exact thing. You'll see like maybe an 8-inch thick wall, and you can change it to a glass curtain wall or anything you want. So without any reworks on Revit, it works perfectly. Right. So now about how we're going to convert all these spaces into BIM. I had a few ideas. So when we see in plan, I think what we want to do here is have the entire north facade as a glass curtain wall. And then the southern and the western facades can be brick walls, right? So what I'll do is I'll take these spaces which are on the south of our flexible space. I'm going to select all of these. And I'm going to do automate with brick walls. So the external walls are brick, internal walls are brick, and I don't think we have any parapets. So that's good to go. Yep, that looks good. And for these spaces on the north, I'm gonna quickly select these as well. So first, I forgot the multi-purpose room. And I'm gonna select all these spaces in the front. And over here, I'm gonna select curtain walls with mullions. Now here it gives me a lot of different properties about the spacing. These things can be changed later as well. So for now, I'll just hit create building. And we have our spaces with the exterior walls as glass curtain walls. Something went wrong with this one. just take this guy here, press Control down to copy it. That should do. And for these flex spaces as well, I'm gonna do the same thing. Yeah. So actually, if you notice here, it has created double walls since I selected both separately, like the flex spaces and these other spaces to the north. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly undo them, select all of them again so that Snaptrude can better understand what the internal walls are versus the external walls. Since these are connected in the middle, I shouldn't perform create building separately, and I'll hit it again. Yeah, that looks better. Still some things which are going wrong. I think there was a minor gap in between two spaces when I modeled them, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, like Britton was mentioning, now these are all different wall types, and these are the Snaptrude defaults which you get over here. So you get brick wall, you get exposed concrete. Like I said, you can change them, but you can also bring in your own Revit families and have them customized. So yeah, you don't want to use these defaults for too long. You can just work the way you do with your Revit families, right? So now that we have a good looking pretty first stage BIM model, what I'm going to do is focus on the next stage of design. So the client for this project actually wanted a grand entrance over here, which is the north side. So what we did was, I'm just going to draw out a space here. Hitting the arrow keys, I can constrain it to particular definite axes and create a plaza here. This can be the main entrance to our building. And also this multi-purpose hall, which is extended over here. This is a great opportunity for us to add maybe a stepped entrance that goes up onto this level here. So maybe like an amphitheater, and we can place them right in Snaptrude. So there's an amphitheater that you can place, quickly align it. And right now it goes beyond the second story. So I'm just gonna select it. It's not selected. Yeah. And similarly with the walls, you also get parametric properties for the staircases and amphitheaters. So I can change its height to, let's say, 14 feet, which is our first, the second story. And I'm going to place this over here. Make sure it aligns. I'm just going to move it a bit towards the right so that we can also place an accessible staircase next to it. Once again, going to staircases, and I'm going to choose a straight flight without mid landing. Yeah. Add that over here. I think I placed 2 by mistake. Sorry. Yeah. Rotate this. Place it over here. Maybe even align the bottom here so that, yeah, the top one still matches. And now I'm going to quickly go to the draw tool again and draw parapet walls on either side. The wall. And then I'm going to bring it right till here. And I can do the same thing. I can actually draw a railing for this entire thing. I take this wall here. Something like that. And I can hit C, copy this guy to this side, hit enter. Very quickly go to wall again, and this time I'll do it with a brick parapet. Use the internal edge and join it right over here. So I think we have a fairly well-defined entry now for the entire building. We have an accessible staircase as well. And what I want to also do is make sure this area is covered so that it's usable in all climatic conditions. So what I'll do is quickly go again to my draw tool, and this time I'll draw a slab. It'd probably be better to do this in plan. Right. This seems risky. Hope it works. Yeah. So yeah, we have the covered entrance now. And to support this large canopy, I'm actually going to go back to my first floor, take a circle and draw some columns. Maybe 1 feet 4 inches. Then copy this guy here. Yeah. I can select both of these and create another copy like this. And since these are all copies of each other, if I edit one, all of them get edited. So yeah, there we go. And last things, I'm gonna add a wooden flooring to this amphitheater. Add the slab as well. Maybe the columns can have concrete, like a rough plaster. And so can the canopy on top. Pretty much do that to the entire roof. Yep. So there we have our BIM model, which is already ready to be exported to Revit. But what I'll do is I'll also add some furniture to it. I'll show you guys how you can import your Revit furniture onto Snaptrude and use it in your projects. So over here, I have this sort of, I have this table with 4 chairs, and I'm going to quickly do the same thing that I did with the larger model. You can go to Snaptrude Manager, load. And since this is an RFA, it asks me if I want to export it to an existing project, which I will select. And it's asking for the link. So let me just, man, the Zoom interface. Yeah. Select the link here, paste it, and say begin export. It's going to open up my project in a new tab. And yeah, I have my one piece of furniture ready to be placed here. What I'm going to do is go inside one of the classrooms and place it right here. I can also select this furniture and add it to my Snaptrude library. So what this does is it allows me to select which space I wanted to take it to, say add to library, and successfully add it to team library. Quickly go and show you guys what the team libraries look like. So over here, this is the team that we created for the webinar today. And in the libraries here, you can see that there are custom objects that can be uploaded and can be used by anyone on your team. So like the one which we just uploaded on at the top here, I've added some more here and basically populated this entire library. And you can also assign custom properties to each object that you're uploading. So I've added some costs here, some vendor descriptions, some family names, which will help you organize your library. And what the costs actually do is once you go back to your project and you start using these furnitures, it'll automatically update the entire project costs based on what you've added here, right? So I'm going to quickly go back to the model. I'm going to open up the costing chart here. And while I'm just making some quick copies of this furniture, you'll see the charts getting updated live. Go to plan view, copy. Yeah, you can see it there. And also now in the way you place furniture on Snaptrude. So let's say I have this guy here. I can press spacebar to rotate it. And I can click on any one of these 4 grips around it to create copies. So I'm going to create 4 copies, which is probably a bit too much. So I'm going to delete one of these. And it's super easy and quick to arrange all your furniture. And if you go to the furniture library over here, the ones that I was just talking about, I've created a new folder called Revit. So these can be taken to Revit, and I can just sort of pick anything up from here. Let's say I want to take the 2-seater table somewhere. Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, and I want to place it in a larger space, maybe the lab here. And once again, I can just click on this grip here, maybe make 5 copies. And I can take this, create a copy, and rotate using space, something like this. Very
So
quick and
actually,
simple.
we're at about 13 minutes left. I just want to make sure we're using time wisely, but I also had a question like, does this functionality go beyond individual pieces? Can you do this with like groups of furniture too?
Oh yeah, you can absolutely do that. So you can select all of these, any kind of furniture you want. You can make a group, and you can also sort of repeat this entire group. You can even add the group entirely to your library. So if like once I have the entire internal layout for one of these rooms, I can just save the entire thing as a group, send it back to my library, and use the same thing in the same project or in a different project altogether. So it's very easy. In fact, anyone from my team can use them. So I can save groups of furniture for my team to use.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm going to skip through the entire part where laying out this individual furniture. The point was to show you how you guys can make an external like a quick BIM model. And what I've done is already created or sort of completed this project over here. So you can see that I've added in a bit more detail. I've just kind of refined the materials a bit, changed up a bit of the wall properties, added a staircase here, and inside I've added furniture for all the rooms. Now I can show you one more quick cool thing before we start exporting this back to Revit. So I've shared this model with Britton. Britton, are you here?
I am.
Can you
Yep.
open inside this model?
I believe so. Let me look. I could be in a different one. Go to collaborate real quick.
Mhm.
Hit
If I had
right.
brainstorm mode, I think I should be able to see you.
Yeah. There we go. I can see you.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
Yep.
So you can follow my screen, right? So
I'm
when you're
following.
on brainstorm
I'm
mode,
following.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. So what do you think? Do you have any comments which you want to leave, or have you left some already? Oh,
Yeah.
I see one. Quickly go here. Oh yeah, change these to desks without drawers. Don't, yeah, these shouldn't be here actually. Yeah, what do you think about the internal layout over here in the flex space? I think once we have those foldable walls, you can use this entire interior space like we had discussed, right? That should be awesome.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that people love about this part is that you can sort of assign work here as well. Like if you click on my typo there, just to rub bronze, I meant to adjust to rub bronze. Uh, you can see the resolve there at the top right of it. So you can actually use this to say, hey, I need you to go take a look at the second floor offices on this. The client wants to do XYZ and make changes on the fly. This will also send me email notification when they share the file with me, lots of things like that. So nice, easy place to kind of keep everything together and in one spot.
Amazing. So yeah, now now that we have a fairly complete BIM model that we can use for our presentations. So what you can do is you can save some views. Go to the views tab over here. Maybe if you want to take one from here, you can save a scene. And if you sort of want to also do a shadow study, you can turn on shadows, just them. Like that, save a scene. And now let me quickly export this to Revit as well. So I can go here, export. It's a Revit file. It's called FSTEM building. And let me quickly go to Revit. I'll create a new project. Once again, go to Snaptrude Manager. This time I click on Reconcile to Revit. And yeah, FSTEM building is over here.
Archie, I got a good question from the chat, and we're about 7 minutes left. How big is this file size now that you imported it in Revit? And do you know a polygon count? I don't think.
I'll tell you the import size, I mean the size of this file from Snaptrude. That was about 1.26 MB. I'll also tell you the file size of the Revit file. Let just load up real quick. For a project of this scale, it usually takes less than 1 minute to be completely imported in Revit. Finished importing, and yeah, quickly save as, so you can see the file size. But as you can see, all the furniture is in here, all your room tags are in here, and every wall is a Revit wall family that can be edited over here. Jump to 3D real quick. So one thing which we are working on is exporting the glass curtain wall that we had drawn. You would notice that hasn't completely come in properly, but all the other walls, all the brick walls are there, all your slabs are there, and even the staircases are there, right? Yeah, so to answer the question, the file size is about 13 MB.
And on the geometry, is it native geometry or in-place families?
It's all like Revit families, that's all. We basically export in two kinds. One are the Revit families, what you would say, like the default families, walls, columns, floors, and then there are direct shaped objects which cannot be parametrically edited on Revit. So let's say if it's a curved wall right now, that's one limitation which we have. If it's a super complex curved wall, then you cannot edit it on Revit, but the geometry will be accurately brought into Revit as you want. So yeah, does that answer the question?
I think so, unless Tiago has another question.
Go edit this. Yeah. So yeah, that was what I wanted to show you guys. How we can quickly get to a concept design, and this is just one option. When we first started out doing this project, trying to replicate this project rather, I'm just going to quickly talk a bit more about that. But we tried different options, and it was really fun to actually create 5 to 6 different design options within a day, and then present it to the client, which was really fun. What would have ideally taken us a couple of days or half a week at least to create that many options, we could do this real quick. And if you guys would have guessed, I am not sure if you have already, but this building has been inspired by this one by Perkins and Wills, which is in Miami. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation, guys.
Cool. Thank you very much, Archit. If there are no other questions, we'll give you a few minutes of your time back, but I posted a link in the chat. If you want to dive deeper into Snaptrude with one of our team members, please feel free. You can grab that link and answer a couple questions, and we'll get you directed in the right way. Thank you very much, and yeah, we'll chat again soon, probably next month. Thanks, everybody.